All right, coming up next for all of you interested folks that are joining us still here. Let's see here. The next one, this is moderated by our one and only CTO, Russ Wilcox. This is talking about the power of data and activating opportunities through data. And typically what CoinGenius's goal is to aggregate data, the top 10%, to help traders to trade more effectively. So we're joined by Josh Frank, Dr. Miheala, Ulieru, Dr. Philip Watts, Russ, Dr. Samuel Franklin, and Brandon Cooper. So as soon as they all get on, we'll get underway. Thank you again.
One doctor here so far. We have two doctors. One's on the phone. We have two doctors.
Well, Crystal, looks like it's just you and me.
Crystal.
We can get our PhD while we're in quarantine.
I've got my PhD in the School of Hard Knocks.
Two and a half, half a
On that last
here.
question, were they talking about the bull run in mining, or were they talking about the bull run in the price of Bitcoin?
The bull run in the price of Bitcoin post the halvening.
Okay.
I thought they were talking about Pamplona myself.
Say that again?
I thought they were talking about Pamplona myself.
By
the way, if Hard Knocks can get you a PhD, I've got two of them, okay?
I got one today.
I hear you.
Financial system.
Hey, you'll have to check out our show this week. I have a segment that called Over the Fence Post, and we superimposed Donald Trump on the other side of the fence post from you. It was hilarious. Oh.
Cool. It looks like we have
now we're all gone.
A majority here.
So can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Don't know why there's two of me, but
the more the merrier. You figured out cloning.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So to introduce everyone, I'll start off. My name's Russ Wilcox. I'm CTO here at CoinGenius. Background.
Well, the good doctor was enjoying something there. What were you laughing about, doctor?
We're here to talk about the state of data, and specifically the state of deep learning and the influx of algorithmic trading into the crypto space. So for our viewers who are just jumping on, and for our new panelists, if we can start with Crystal and then go to Brent, and then Dr. number one, Dr. Miheala, then Josh, and then anyone else who's joined via phone. That would be great. Maybe you could just start off, just give us a little bit of information about yourself and what you're currently doing in the state of data and data science in the cryptocurrency space.
Sure. Thanks for having me, CoinGenius. I'm Crystal Rose. I'm the CEO and founder of Make Sense Labs. Our flagship product is a crypto-enabled blockchain-based messenger. We call it a better messenger. We're cutting out BS, which is bots and spam. And we do that through utilizing a token that verifies identity. We're keeping the ethos of the blockchain transparency and privacy, while also just creating a better product in general. The evolution of this came from previously working on a chatbot network that was powered by AI and harvesting lots and lots of data. So data is really close to my heart. There are two things I love. It's crypto and data. And in this new incarnation of our company, our goal and mission is to protect everyone's data. We have a tremendous amount of exposure when it comes to other tools that we use. Today, Zoom is added to the laundry list, but other messengers like WhatsApp and Telegram, we are not being encrypted by default, and a lot of these things are being exposed. So I'm coming from the perspective of that a user's data is very valuable, and when it comes to the data that's being moved around through these networks as we're doing trading, that's another big gold mine on the backside of the crypto itself.
Cool. Brent? You could give us a quick rundown about yourself and what you're currently doing in data, that would be great. Can you hear me? Okay, Dr. Ulieru, can you give us a rundown of your state of what you're doing in
I
data
am
and data science.
There are less doctors now, less competition. Okay, maybe he will come back. But yeah, so I am actually, my area is artificial intelligence. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence. My doctorate is in AI, and my bread and butter has always been data. And I cannot agree more with Crystal's take on it. So we are moving from data is the new oil to data is currency, where I, as an individual, can put in value the data and can get something for it. And blockchain is the keyword here. Of course, I will say a bit more later. We are using neurosymbolic reasoning at SingularityNet, and I am related to them. For this
Awesome.
panel, at least. Yes.
Awesome. Josh, if you could tell us a little about yourself and what you're doing in with data, that would be great.
Hey, I'm Josh Frank. I'm a co-founder and CEO of the TIE, and we're the largest provider of alternative data to institutional investors in digital assets. So we operate across a couple of different venues. The first is sentiment data. So we're the only Twitter partner in crypto. So we have access to something called the Twitter fire hose, which is the full real-time stream of 850 million tweets a day. We have proprietary technology to parse through that and quantify investor sentiment data, which we provide to hedge funds who are building multi-factor models to trade off of that data. So coming from the more traditional space, providing that data to traditional quantitative funds across equities, futures, fixed income, into digital assets. And then more recently, launched the first corporate actions and significant developments data set for crypto. So it's basically the fastest way to stay on top of market moving events for hedge funds. So we're able to track everything from hard forks to token burns, exchange listings, regulatory rulings. We parse through every single court case in the United States. We parse through every ruling from every single state House and state Senate, focused on identifying market moving information in real time. So we provide that to hedge funds, and we also provide about 30% of the news in crypto behind the scenes. We work with the largest publications to help them stay on top of the market and to basically publish a lot of the news that you'll see on everything from court cases to listings to anything like that.
Awesome. So it's great to all have you as part of this panel. What I'm really interested in is, to start this off, is this idea of AI. And AI in the larger societal impact is, if anything, is you have two kind of boundary cases of this. It's either Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back as a Terminator, and that's the level of artificial intelligence that the public perceives, or you have anyone that can code an if or then statement, and that's therefore artificially intelligent. But what we're really interested in, and specifically in the crypto space, is how data science and AI are currently being applied. And the crypto space is actually very unique in regards to this, because in traditional financial markets, we have all these nice little algorithmic features like Black-Scholes and traditional signal processing and nonlinear methods. But that quantitative basis has not developed in crypto as of yet, because of the enormous growth it's seen just only within the last 5 to 10 years. We'll start with Dr. Ulieru, because this is your specialty. Is where do you see where AI is having the biggest source of impacts with this idea of financial forecasting in the crypto space?
So I don't think I'm the right person to answer that, because I'm not into financial forecasting. So my take on it is the balance between privacy and security, and using and designing better artificial intelligence, in the sense of not the Terminator, that's where we started, but the AIs which are going to support us. For example, now what we are going through counseling, avatars that can provide company and emotional support. Artificial intelligence, which actually it's not trained to kill, spy, steal, but rather to help us and support us. And in order to do that, I have a very firm belief that we have to take the AI from the hands of the oligopolists and give it back to people. And that's where blockchain and our work at SingularityNet with our marketplace on blockchain, where everybody can put an artificial intelligence algorithm, and these agents can combine by themselves into more sophisticated solutions, including for financial trading. This is where our effort goes.
Cool. Yeah, just to build on that and try to make the question a little bit. We've now in the crypto space started to rely more heavily on unstructured data such as text. I know, Josh, you mentioned the use of the Twitter fire hose. Crystal, you've mentioned the use of chatbots within your realm. Where do you see the growth? We'll start with you, Crystal, of utilizing this unstructured textual data in order to give insights into trading metrics or decision making, or taking this unstructured data, turning it into something using quote unquote AI or machine learning to create robust data driven decisions?
So you mean not creating a digital clone of myself and going all the way towards Ex Machina, which would be another movie I'd suggest watching, or Do You Trust This Computer is another great one, because you're talking about the real use of AI, which right now is actually machine learning. I think that when we talk about machine learning versus artificial intelligence, there's a very big differentiating factor, which is the ability to make decisions on the human's behalf without programmatically being told to do so. So, you know, what we're looking at today is actually more of this thought about looking at data, mining and understanding data, and using it to create different results or to optimize the system. The text and unstructured data that we have today, it's scary how much we have available and how powerful the machines are that can crunch it. It's also, to me, very interesting how it's being used. I don't personally think that we are utilizing these types of algorithms in the right way today. On the financial trading side, I'm also similarly unable to comment too much on what I think algorithms are doing, other than moving markets in swings that would not be possible with simple humans, because you just see a spiral up or down that is basically the program folding in on itself. But for the data side of things, my number one goal is really to be in a world and society where we're using these things for a purpose greater than advertising. And it seems to me today that the largest companies and biggest technologies that we have are doing just that. It's primarily for the use of targeting and advertising to people based on some incentive that they have to make a sale. So I'd like to know what companies are doing with data, and that's why I started to embark on this side of it with blockchain, was to see if there was a way for us to give a value to a user based on the data that they had on different networks. Would a user be willing to expose their data to our system or another system? And there are many companies that have now started to embark on this mission for the purpose of being able to also financially benefit from it. For us now, our stance is we want no data. We would actually like to encrypt it with keys that only you control. We will never be able to see it. We don't want to store it. In fact, we want our hands totally clean of it. It's just like like a custodial wallet. We don't want to be the custodians of your data. Some people want to be the custodians of your tokens. And we're at this stage saying, why not let the user just have that control? And then they can opt into whether or not they want to use it for these purposes.
And then, awesome. Dr. Phil Watts, are you still on the phone?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yeah, sorry we missed you on it's hard to follow with the pictures and the non-pictures. Now, I know you're in the green technology space and in the blockchain space. Diving off this, and we'll move on to Josh, who's going to comment more robustly on the use of unstructured data. Where do you start seeing the use of this natural language processing, or this textual data within your space?
Well, I think I wear several different hats at this webinar, first of all, because I talked earlier about this COVID-19 and how it's sort of impacting us. I think this is a great time to develop software in addition to developing our own personal, connections and so on and so forth. So I think this is fundamentally a time of opportunity. So I think this is a very timely conversation here, this particular panel, because there are opportunities to move forward. I sort of commented a couple hours ago about how blockchain, when you apply blockchain, when you're doing renewable energy in a community, meaning you're building projects using distributed generation, those projects are serving a particular community, and you are bringing money into the community, and you are delivering the electricity in the community for projects that are also, meaning solar panels and whatnot, that are also situated in that community. And so blockchain becomes a means for people to access the data from all angles, whether it's from the regulator side or the customer side or the utility side. And it's also a means to carry out, real-time arbitrage of which source of electricity should you use at any one time. And that's where the AI comes in, because it just turns out that AI mixed with blockchain is just it's a gift, right, in terms of making decisions and trying to optimize things. But before you hand it off to somebody else, and I'm not sure that answers exactly what you wanted, but I wanted to just kind of sketch that out. Let me say one other thing. I have a very controversial opinion to share, and I realize it comes down to the definitions of these things. But if I may use one example of one industry, and then I'll relate it to this conversation. And with apologies to Google, I'm not trying to pick on them. But in the automated driving sector, Google can have 16 servers in the trunk if they want, and they can drive cars for 15 trillion miles. But I will assert to you that artificial intelligence system will never be safe. And I will assert to you that even if they had 16 servers and drove 15 trillion miles, that I can come up with 10 scenarios and their car will fail 8 out of 10 of those scenarios. And so, in other words, what I'm trying to say, and I think the Department of Defense realizes this, is that artificial intelligence can also be fooled, and it can be tricked, and it can totally miss things, and it can't understand the context, which brings me to what I design and what I'm a sort of award-winning innovator, if I can just put that out there like that, is having 3 or more means to bring context into AI. And by bringing context into AI, you're, on the one hand, you can bring safety into automated driving, because the safety comes from the context by recognizing the context. It gives you an access to being much safer, but also by bringing new structures, new software, new algorithms into artificial intelligence, which I find to be very, and I know it's not known to be rigid, but in some strange sense, its abilities right now are also quite rigid. And,
For sure.
And what I'd like to do, I would like to bring more flexibility to that and allow it to have much more context and explore relationships in a much more nonlinear and recursive way.
I could not agree more. I just want to say, yes, we call that narrow AI, and just wanted to label it like that. And we use neurosymbolic reasoning. So yes, we have to have a follow-up conversation.
And then, Josh, I want to definitely get your input, because what Dr. Watts is talking about was this idea of contextual learning, where we're saying that, okay, now we have to start looking at nonlinearities of the system. We have to start looking at behaviors within the data such that we have to understand, in the case of sentiment, sarcasm versus different emotions. And Twitter seems like a gold mine for this data. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the NLP side of things, the natural language processing side of things, where you're starting to see textual data being used, especially now that you have access to this amazing resource of the Twitter Firehose.
Yeah, so we use NLP and textual-based analytics across all of what we do. I mean, that's kind of at the heart of our firm. And I think the biggest challenge is when you go and you look at textual-based data, is just trying to assess relevancy of any form of data, right? You can see a tweet mentioning, sure, sarcasm is an issue, but what about if you're trying to predict something, right? You see a tweet mentioning ETH and somebody mentions an ETH hard fork. Is that what the hard fork would be on Ethereum, but if somebody just mentions ETH, is that Ethereum or is that Ethan Allen, the American home furniture company, right? You see the word dash, is that on, Bitcoin's going to make it mad dash, or is that on the cryptocurrency dash, right? So the first, I guess, challenge is trying to figure out whether or not any piece of text is actually relevant to anything, or relevant to digital assets. And that's a problem that we have to deal with all the time. Dealing with different types of emotion is a challenge. Dealing with across different asset classes, for example, different verbiage. So, nobody is going to say that, Apple stock is going to moon, right? That's not a word that we had to deal with when we were dealing with equities. That's a word that you have to deal with in the digital asset space, right? So that's a challenge as well, but also, predicting tenses. So we're helping quantitative hedge funds build models to basically automatically trade off of specific events in the digital asset realm. For example, exchange listings or token burns or regulatory rulings are 51% attacked. But if you see a piece of text mentioning a 51% attack, is that about something that happened in the past? Is that something that's happening in the present, or is that something that's happening in the future? And we you have to train and deploy neural networks where basically we're just taking models and training them over and over and over and over and over and over again, even to solve for things as simple as tensing and things like that, which are all kind of challenges that you have in the AI, I guess, NLP space in terms of helping other financial firms.
For sure. And you hit on something that's near and dear to my heart, which is this idea of contextual-based synonym mapping in terms of you're looking at ETH from a financial perspective as opposed as to Ethan Allen. Dr. Ulieru, maybe you can talk about this idea of where you're seeing the trends going with this contextual-based learning, and specifically where we've almost reached a precipice where the data is plateauing in a way, in terms of the models that we're learning. We can only add so much data to it before we asymptotically approach its limits. It's where we have to now rely on data augmentation or supplementation to tease out some of these nonlinearities in this contextual behavior. Maybe you can comment a bit on that fact.
No, I'm sorry. I think you will have to answer that question.
So maybe you can talk
about
a little bit deeper about this.
With that. For me, this panel is artificial intelligence in the context of the crypto community, but not necessarily with I'm sorry, there's a noise in the background, a dog, which I just can't.
So maybe help define what this narrow AI definition that you mentioned earlier based on Dr. Watts is and how that's being applied in your work.
Yeah, exactly. So of course, today, what we have and what we apply is this narrow artificial intelligence. And that is exactly the classical machine learning, which we all our speakers here have referred to. But there is above that what we call neurosymbolic reasoning, and that is a meta level in which you take, for example, if you are analyzing traffic in a city, so let's take a smart city application, and you look at a particular area and what's happening there, there's a traffic jam and so on, and for one reason or another, you would not have the ability to look at other places and analyze and make correlations. So with narrow AI, you cannot make correlations between various areas of the city which exhibit similar behavior, and then you can infer at the higher level, for example, there's an attack or there's a coordinated something. So that is the example of the meta level of neurosymbolic reasoning. I think it's easier to give it by example. And speaking of this of such correlations, this kind of methodology is used to drive it all back home to parse scientific papers, for example. Now it's very important. Yes, how can we determine a treatment based on previous research with similar viruses? How can we determine? How can we make decision about who can go back to work or back in? Let's say, can I go to my friends right now? Because let's say in state X, there is not such a big probability of infection. What can I do so I can get personalized information based on correlations and patterns in text of, just like with the city example in various parts of the city, similar with parsing scientific papers. I wish I would have board.
No, so that gives us some insight, and that will lead us to Crystal. I know you dropped out for some technical difficulties, but Josh was talking about the need for contextual-based learning and being able to understand, say, different layers of synonyms, different layers of sarcasm, different layers of emotional context within natural language. Maybe you can talk about that and where you're seeing that go within the use of your chatbots.
Oh my goodness. So, we had the largest network of chatbots that were interoperable on messengers still to date. We could send a message on Telegram that goes to SMS, that goes to Facebook, that goes to Slack. We had ins with every single platform and lots and lots of data as a result, including the now deceased Kick Messenger. What we had experienced through this learning, the easiest way to explain it to you would be to look up Microsoft's Tay project on Twitter. Completely failed project because what Tay ingested was sort of the worst of humanity. And once people found out that Tay was learning from them, they did it on purpose, just like people who post NSA tweets. They put every single word possible for the NSA to scramble the search and the algorithms, because it's our human nature to potentially want to go against something that seemingly could, destroy us if you look at all of the movies, or might be, just fun to see how we can mess with it from the user side. Fundamentally, humans always want to break things. I'm not sure what that natural instinct is, but my 1-year-old has a lot of joy in destroying anything that seems to be in perfect condition. And I think that we see that a lot with just the behavior of how humans interact. So all this to say that if a human is unaware that their data is being processed in that way, you're more likely to have a sample set to be able to do something useful with it. Our philosophy, though, we took a step back. The reason why we decided to build the most secure and private messenger, the reason that we wanted to build something that was both community driven yet protected your privacy, was because we learned that actually holding all of that data is a major responsibility. And we shouldn't actually take the responsibility of deducing what a user's intentions are based on previous messages or conversations that they've had. One thing that might happen, and this might happen in the financial world as well, and I think we see this in the way that markets move, is that there's a fine line between prediction and influence. And we're crossing the line into influence quite a bit when we think that we understand humans and human behavior. So that's something, that we see, like what Josh was mentioning with the mentions on Twitter. If we were to scan Twitter and look for mentions of things, we would all be pumping Doge or pumping Tron or whatever it is at the time that is getting an unweighted amount of tweets. And it may or may not be because of any validity whatsoever.
Brandon, I see you shaking your head. I'd love to hear your take on this conversation.
I've been trying to get in for like 20 minutes. So
yes, sorry. Yeah,
I apologize. I've missed a whole lot, but I'm glad to be here. Sorry, guys. I tried 4 different devices, different browsers, everything. So
no problem. I'm dying to hear your input. So we'll give you a few minutes to start talking.
If you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
We see you as well.
Yeah. Introduce myself because I didn't get a chance to. My name is Brandon Cooper. I'm the CEO of AFIT. Crystal was saying a lot of things that directly what we're doing. We're actually allowing people to digitize themselves into a bot so it works for them, so they don't have to work 40 hours a week. We're actually one of the good guys out there where we want to help with time leverage so that you don't have to. You can spend more time with your family. If you want to make money while you're at the beach, your bot will basically do a myriad of things. It'll do e-commerce checkout, it gets a commission when it sells. We'll also be doing some Forex AI, and then we'll also be doing some things in the crypto trading piece when it comes to AI. Correct, Kyle. Digital twin, that's correct. An aphid is an insect that can clone itself through asexual reproduction, so it doesn't even need a partner to have a baby. And the babies in their stomachs actually have a baby themselves. They can have about 50 babies a week. That's where their name came from. Shameless plug.
We call that replication. Yes.
So maybe now you can comment on some of the stuff that Crystal
just here to learn and great information I've been hearing from you guys of what I did here.
Yeah, so let's start off with you. We have about 3 minutes left. Let's take starting with Brandon, the status of data science and deep learning and AI. Where do you see it going within blockchain in the next year or so now that people have time to work on this? So let's try to have, 45 seconds each and just quickly answer that and where you see it in the next year.
Me and Christina, we did the interview about a few weeks ago. And that'll be coming out soon. I don't know when they're releasing it, but we talk for a good 45 minutes to an hour. We talk about the project more in depth under the hood. It's a very exciting time. We're based here in Los Angeles, and I've been talking to Jeremy and Christina for quite some time.
Yeah, we're excited. Awesome. I'd love to chat with you some more. Crystal, where do you see data science going in the crypto space for the next year or so?
But not to miss out on anything, Crystal, if you could just elaborate more. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I think a lot of great thinkers in our space have said that there are two fundamental technologies that are going to radically shift every industry, and those are blockchain and AI. And then if you put those two together, we have massive disruption. And that's something that I think we're finally starting to see is the convergence of autonomy with blockchain, which is, really radically transforming every possible industry. I think it's very exciting, and soon already data scientists are some of the top paid technologists on the planet. I think arguably they are, in terms of AI, if you look at some of the Google salaries, they're making more than Major League Baseball players. So if you add in crypto, which is largely all financial based to the equation, my guess is that we're going to start seeing a lot more people with doctor or PhD following their name who are entering into this and bringing in their science minds.
Awesome.
That's, to me, it's a very exciting time to be in the space.
Okay, we have to wrap it, but before we do, Josh, 15 seconds. Where do you see your?
When you look at how early we really are in terms of AI, outside of Siri, Cortana, or Bixby, or whatever, there hasn't been much mass adoption. And, machine learning is a subset of that. And then you have deep learning. And then we have the quantum computing, which is into the future. And that's where it gets a little more scary. But it's going to be interesting by the year 2030 with a lot of jobs being replaced because 16% will be gone over the next few years of all jobs, including trucking, which is crazy. So it's very, very interesting. And I think preventing singularity is very important in our mission of what we're doing with the company. I'm not talking about my company just for my company. I'm just saying we're created for this reason because a lot of people are scared that robots are going to take our jobs. But in my opinion, robots should take our jobs. It's the only way we're going to be able to spend time with our family, working 5 days a week. By the time you get home, cook, spending time with your husband or wife, it just doesn't make sense. And to jump onto that hamster wheel and do it again on Monday is just absolute insanity.
Hey, Russ, can I have a crack at this before we end? This is Phil.
Yes, please.
I think we lost Russ, so.
Yes, go ahead.
We have taken over this conference. There we go. I just wanted to add one thing, which is I know AI.
Losing everyone.
Oh man, technology.
Sorry about that. Yep, I couldn't even get on to tell you anything.
Oh, that's tough. We've had a lot of tech issues.
In 10 seconds, Russ, I would say what Josh and Crystal and all these people are pointing at in my mind is that sometimes communications have no data. Sometimes they have the opposite data from what you expect, and everything in between meta and non-meta data. And I think you just have to be able to learn how to switch gears more. There are a lot of forks in the road, and I think AI needs to learn how to pick forks in the road, not just correlate things.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, the thing is, I always wonder why we label organic food and don't label everything else. And I think what is going to happen is that we're going to be labeling things that aren't tracking you and not labeling everything else. So, you know, when you say that AI hasn't really been adopted too much today, actually every single person uses AI on a daily basis. If you use Google, if you use Facebook, or if you use WhatsApp, you know, WhatsApp Messenger has the right to take your data, scan it through AI for your protection, and then do what it wishes on the other side. Then it encrypts the data. So, you know, I think in that case, we're going to see tools pop up. And that's really why I'm passionate about this and why we have pivoted so drastically from having so much data to no data. We're building the Sense Chat Messenger because we want people to have a place to go where they can have that stamp of approval of there is actually no AI tracking you at this present time. And in fact, we are protecting you from bots. So, you know, the very thing that I was building before, I now see sort of as the enemy. In a sense, I want to protect people from it because way too many companies are brokering your privacy and selling data on your behalf without you being the beneficiary.
Well, thank you for that, guys. This was an awesome panel. Sorry, we have to wrap this up. I know Christina's on to moderate the next one. Apologize for the speakers of that next one. Thank you again. We'll talk soon.
And then what about the price of Bitcoin?
Yeah.
We will let the AI decide.
On that note, I'm out.